Reddit Ask Me Anything. I was kidnapped and held for 4 weeks. My captor was never found. Ask me anything. Holy crap. 200 upvotes in less than 5 hours. I'm so happy. Feel free to leave your answers below. I have prepared and frequently asked questions. How did I escape? He was on the phone, and I'm assuming he was talking to someone about them coming over. About 10 minutes later, I'm being dragged to another room, and before he can react I run as fast as I could out the door. Why was I kidnapped? I don't know to this day. I'm about 80% sure other kids were also kidnapped, and I don't want to imagine what happened to them. How did I get kidnapped? Man needed help finding a cat and offered to give me some food drink if I helped him. Did you get therapy since then? Yes, I have a lot of therapy because of it. I still go once a month to this day. Never been diagnosed, but I think I may have PTSD or something. Counselor here. If you're in therapy and it's being paid through insurance and you're in the US, you have a diagnosis. If you're interested up for it, you could ask what it is you're diagnosed with and why. Some people find that alone validating in some ways. I am so sorry that you went through something so awful. What did he say, if anything, to you? And how does this event still impact your daily life today? He never ended up saying anything to me, besides when I first saw him, which was basically asking me if I could help him. I heard him on the phone once, and I think he screamed something when I started running. I have to go to therapy once a month, and I think I may have some form of PTSD. You more than likely do have PTSD, which would be normal after something like that. Just remember to tell yourself every day that you're strong, and you are a survivor. I'm glad you made it out of there. Statistically, most people don't run even when given the chance due to being paralyzed from fear. In that kind of situation you overcame that and ran. Good job. I'm glad you're still with us all and had the strength to make a Reddit post telling us all your story. Thank you. Red Heart. If you were ever to meet your kidnapper, what would you say to him? Only if you don't mind. And do you ever think that in the world, your kidnapper is locked up behind bars for the same crimes he did to you but to someone else? And I'm very sorry for what happens to you in the past, and I hope you were able to get over it. If I met him in person, I would literally shoot him in the face if I had a gun somehow. I do think about that sometimes. I really hope he has been locked up. From when I was there, it was pretty obvious someone else had been there at some point. What makes you think someone else was there? It had looked worn down. There were stains and scratches. This isn't a question, but I am very grateful that you are alive and had the courage to flee from that. I hope beyond home that man is no longer living, and if so, in prison for life. Thank you, Red Heart. Why did he kidnap you? I mean, was he possibly trying to sell you? Not sure, and I never knew. Someone suggested it could be a pedophilia traffic ring. How was the reunion with family? How were they affected by all of this? It was really nice seeing them all again. We went to an all-you-can-eat buffet a few days after. It was really good eating actual food. My family was pretty terrified when I was gone, as no one ever saw me get kidnapped, and there were no security camera. Did the captor do anything to you? Abuse you in any way? Yes, I was abused. It wasn't great, but I'm pretty sure it would have been worse if I had stayed longer. Do people still treat you differently? Like, is your family super overprotective of you now? And if so, do you find it comforting or overwhelming? They are super overprotective now, and I don't mind at all. I'd much rather have overprotective parents than go through that again. What did your captor look like? When I originally followed him, he was wearing a hoodie, so it was hard to see. He looked Caucasian and had hair to an extent. When I was actually held, he was wearing a cheap ski mask thing. Judging from your username, I'm glad that the experience didn't ruin cats for you. I'm happy it didn't. I now live with 6 and I love them all so much. Did the police ever try to locate your captor? In an honest opinion, it didn't seem like they cared too much. I gave a description as best as I could. This may have been asked, but would you be able to identify your captor today if he walked by you on the street? I'd probably recognize him from somewhere, but I wouldn't be able to figure out where from, and just shrug it off and go on with my day. Did he lure you in telling you he has an injured cat? I've heard about this tactic before. Needed help finding a cat and offered to give me some food drink if I helped him. Did they feed you proper food at all? I was just given spare food, or sometimes nothing at all. I was hardly given water, but there was a tap that I secretly used to fill up an empty can with. So glad you are okay, but I wish for your scars to heal as well. That's awful, man. How did your life change in school after the event? Parents talked to the school, and after a bit of discussion the school was just told I went on vacation, as not many knew that I was actually kidnapped. How did you escape? I know you said he was on the phone, but did he notice or anything, or did you just sneak away and never heard anything again? He was on the phone, and I'm assuming he was talking to someone about them coming over. About 10 minutes later, I'm being dragged to another room, and before he can react I run as fast as I could out the door. I'm so shocked the police didn't do much. Have you ever read J.C. Lee Duguid's book, or met any women that had the same experiences? Never met anyone that had similar experiences, but I'll probably have a look. Are you going to therapy for this terribly traumatic experience? Yes, once a month. Is there anything you have learned from this experience that you wish all parents knew or would do to better protect their children? Please keep an eye on your children no matter what. If my parents had decided to even just look at the park, they would have realized something was wrong. Too many parents assume that they're old enough to do whatever they want. Even if your child is 13 plus, still keep an eye on them. What kind of room were you kept in? What were you fed? Looked like a shed. Was mostly fed spare food. I was hardly given water, but there was a tap that I secretly used to fill up an empty can with. I don't want to trigger you, so if you don't want to, you don't have to answer, but do you feel like they are still doing this to others? I hope not. It was obvious that other people had been there before. Any PTSD or fury towards, well, anything? What did they do to you while you were kidnapped? I think I may have PTSD. I'll probably mention it in therapy next week. If I saw him again and knew it was him, I would kill him. Not even joking. Do you remember his intentions? 0. I never actually knew. The 4 weeks I had spent in there were already terrible. Where I was held actually looked like it had been used to hold someone before too. I'm terrified to know what happened to them. Scary. Glad to know someone escaped. Probably some sort of pedophilia traffic ring. Were you far from home? Do you remember where did you go and who did you talk to after escaping? I ran as much as I could and never looked back. I was running for at least a good 40 minutes and was about to sit down when I saw a gas station. I went in and they phoned the police for me. I wasn't able to really remember where the house was, as I was really disoriented. Is your username to do with the van? Actually just love cats, lol. Decided to include it in my Reddit name. I was also kidnapped, but thankfully my captor turned themselves in. I guess my question is, how are your parents? I know from personal experience that my upbringing had more emphasis on knowing where I was. It's possible, but I don't see any real point of kidnapping me. What city was this in? Don't really feel like giving out that much personal information, as I have seen some bad things happen to people on Reddit. It was in more of a rural city. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.